Welcome to the Alaska Weather Show. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service on this Friday, June 3rd, 2022. And if you'd like additional weather information, you can always go online to weather.gov, and it's a interface here on a website that allows you to go to a map, point and click map, and you can get weather forecasts, watches, warnings, advisories, and so much more information for anywhere in the country. You can check up on what the weather is like for various locations where family and friends live. Right now, the main weather story on this Friday afternoon is the tropical storm warnings that have been posted for southern half of Florida and surrounding Gulf and Atlantic Ocean areas. This potential tropical storm 1 system is going to produce heavy rainfall across southern Florida, perhaps as much as 10 to 12 inches in and around Miami-Dade County. That'll be the primary threat that could result in some urban and flash flooding. Further off to the west, severe thunderstorm watch covers southeast Colorado and eastern New Mexico, west Texas. Thunderstorms there could produce some large hail and damaging winds. And we also have red flag warnings, especially across southern parts of Nevada into northwest Arizona in the vicinity of Las Vegas. Speaking of red flag warnings and fire danger remains very high to extreme in many areas of the state. We've had very dry conditions for the past month and more. Temperatures have been at record levels. Some areas have set new record high temperatures in the 70s and even 80s. That trend has continued even into this Friday afternoon. Red flag warnings and fire weather watches are in effect. I'll highlight those in a moment. There is going to be some relief over the course of the weekend. Some light rain and rain showers are going to overspread the panhandle, first from the south end later tonight and early Saturday, and then overspread the rest of the panhandle into the northern Gulf Coast this weekend. We'll see some moisture too spreading westward along and south of the Alaska Range, bringing spotty showers and a few isolated thunderstorms. But initially, because the air is so dry, these thunderstorms could produce dry lightning because there's not enough rain falling from these storms to dampen things, and then you get the lightning strikes that start the fires. And looking at some of the FAA webcams from across the state, up there at Dead Horse, along the Arctic coast, they are seeing some low clouds, areas of light fog. Temperature there only 30 degrees this afternoon. It's going to stay on the chilly side up there along the Arctic coast. Further along the northwest and north side of the Seward Peninsula, we're seeing some dim sunshine. 39 degrees. There is going to be a cold front approaching from the west, coming out of eastern Russia and the Chukchi Sea. That's going to reinforce just some cooler temperatures there over the weekend. As we go further southeastward, southeast interior, not far from the Alcan border, notice the cumulus clouds have built up, as I promised yesterday, for today in the vicinity of Northway. We see virga, that's precipitation evaporating before it reaches the ground, kind of that fine, thin veil that looks like rain falling. It's not reaching the ground. The air is just too dry. Temperatures that way have been in the 70s this afternoon. And then Juneau, a view from Eagle Crest, a red flag warning in effect until 9 p.m. this Friday evening. Fire danger very high to extreme there in northern parts of the Panhandle. Yesterday, record highs, lower 80s. Today, going to see temperatures possibly reaching a record there at Juneau, which is 79. So far as of mid-afternoon, they've been as warm as 76. And we can see on the hazardous weather, our warning advisory map, Juneau area there, the northern parts, the interior of the Panhandle have a red flag warning till 9 p.m. this Friday evening. And then as we shift toward the further west, we have now a red flag warning that's been issued for Saturday afternoon and evening for the Susitna Valley, especially Willow, on up toward Talkeetna, where there could be dry lightning. So again, refrain from any sort of outdoor burning. We have still in effect a flood advisory for the Gulkana River and the roadway there along Lake Louise, as river levels there, streams in the upper Copper River Basin remain very high due to snowmelt. And then finally, the orange area is a fire weather watch for much of the middle and upper Yukon Valley, from Tanana and Bettles up through Fairbanks, Yukon Flats. This area is going to see very dry conditions this weekend with northeasterly winds increasing, so I will imagine this area will become a red flag warning for not just for Saturday afternoon and evening, but also Sunday afternoon and evening. So again, stay away from any sort of fire activity in those areas. So as of this evening, a red flag warning for northern Panhandle through 9 p.m. Fire weather watch for portions of the central and east central interior Saturday and Sunday. And then we just had the red flag warning issued for the Susitna Valley for Saturday afternoon and evening for dry thunderstorms and potential fire starts from dry lightning. And this recent very dry and warm weather has prepared the landscape to really carry wildfires. We are expecting a little moisture and cooler temperatures moving up through the panhandle this weekend. That'll definitely suppress the fire danger. And then especially along and south of the Alaska Range through the course of the weekend, we'll start to get some spotty showers and isolated thunderstorms. But initially, those thunderstorms are not going to be able to put down much in the way of rain, so they could cause more problems than do good. Looking at the fire danger, we focus in yet through the early fire season on the grass adjective. The grass is the best carrier of fire this time of year, and we see large areas of very high to extreme fire danger, especially north and west of the Alaska Range through the Yukon, Kuskokwim basins. We also have pockets of extreme fire danger there, the Susitna Valley, and also on the west side of the Kenai Peninsula. So be very, very careful attempting to use any fire in these areas, and respect and observe any sort of burning bans that may be in effect. Be sure to check with any campgrounds, any of your local ordinances. River breakup is pretty much done. We still have, though, very high river levels from the record snowmelt. We had record snowfall, so the snowmelt continues, and we still have the flood advisories there. Upper Copper River Basin, the Gulkana River, through at least Monday early afternoon. Satellite imagery continues to show, though, a fair amount of sunshine across southwest interior, south central areas enjoying the sun, also even into the northern panhandle. There is a curl in the clouds out there south of Adak. That's the low pressure that's passing south of the central Aleutians. And then if you notice up there along eastern Russia, there's a cold front coming in, kind of a bow in the clouds. That's going to bring a reinforcing shot of chilly air there along the western coast into the northwest through the weekend. Weak trough of low pressure just kind of lags back across the northern Gulf into south central. And that feature, a little bit of moisture is going to kind of come in from the lower Yukon and work its way westward along and south of the Alaska Range, helping to fuel a few spotty showers and isolated thunderstorms as we go through the weekend. So as we go into Saturday, some isolated thunderstorms along and south of the Alaska Range could cause dry lightning, and that's potential fire starts. Showers, light rain will overspread, though, the panhandle. And as we go into Sunday, more of the same along and south of the Alaska Range, and also even pushing down into the lower half of the Kuskokwim Basin. There could be a few showers, isolated thunderstorms as well. The cold front there just kind of washing out up there along the northwest coast. But nevertheless, temperatures are going to be mild in the panhandle, upper 40s near 50 degrees, and pretty much mid 40s to around 50. Temperatures will stay in the 50s. For nighttime lows in Anchorage. The Anchorage Bowl, very warm Saturday afternoon. Cooler temperatures across the panhandle, getting knocked down into the upper 50s and 60s due to the rain and cloud cover, where there is still sun, 70s, an isolated 80-degree reading not out of the question there, south central up through Talkeetna. But again, the chance of some isolated thunder in that area in the afternoon and evening. Similar low temperatures, 40s panhandle, 40s even staying above 50 in through the Anchorage Bowl. Generally highs in the 70s, south central areas dodging a few showers and isolated thunderstorms. Where the sun breaks through could get back up into the 70s at Juneau as well as at Skagway and Haines on Sunday. Far north, chilly, below freezing tonight, Arctic coast, but 70s again with breezier northeast winds there, the middle and upper Yukon Valley through the Yukon Flats, hence the red flag warnings for that area. Sunday morning, similar lows, 40s to near 50 Yukon Valley, but 20s, 30s out there, western, northwest part of the Seward Peninsula, back up into the 70s through the Yukon Valley. A little cooler, though, 60s there, Yukon Flats, but still breezy, so there will be red flag warnings likely there for Sunday afternoon and evening as well. Southwest will be in the 40s overnight, 70s to near 80 Saturday. Again, lows upper 40s, 50s, back up into the 70s to near 80 Sunday. Cooler temperatures out through the Aleutians. Looking at the extended temperature forecast, June 9th through the 13th, leading up toward mid-June, still above normal temperatures, above to much above normal temperatures centered on southwest Alaska, maybe a little cooler in the eastern areas along the Alcan border and down through the Panhandle. Still relatively dry along the southwest coast, but at least areas of the southeast and south central interior back through the panhandle may get a little moisture, which means some scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. So there you have it here, going up until nearly mid-June.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Well, it's now time for your aviation weather and the weekend outlook. If you have a flight planned Saturday or on Sunday, widespread VFR conditions are anticipated across much of the mainland, though we'll see IFR conditions along areas of the North Slope and Arctic coast down through the Bering Strait, as well as just off the southern and outer coast of the Panhandle, and then extending out through the tip of the Alaska Peninsula into the Aleutian Chain. The main weather feature continues to be this very warm ridge of high pressure dominating the weather, especially across the southern two-thirds of the state in through the Panhandle. By Saturday afternoon, some moisture is going to begin to work its way further westward along and south of the Alaska Range, including the Talkeetna Mountains, where we expect some scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms to develop, so watch out for those cumulus buildups. Any sort of upslope flow will help enhance those cumulus and develop some isolated thunder. We'll see MVFR conditions spreading a little further north and northwestward along the Panhandle, with IFR off of the coast there in the Gulf. And then by Sunday morning, widespread IFR conditions continue along the Arctic coast back down through the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island. And then we see areas of IFR conditions along the north central Gulf Coast into the central Gulf, and then also along either side of the Alaska Peninsula into the Aleutian Chain. Once again, Sunday afternoon, some of that moisture spreads a little further westward along and south of the Alaska Range. Western arm starting to get a little more in on the action, so there could be some isolated thunder as well. Another thing to keep in mind this weekend, though temperatures won't be quite as warm as what they were, but at certainly this time of year, now that we're starting to see some temperatures get above 80 degrees, that high density altitude, just keep that in mind if you're carrying a heavier load and dealing with shorter runways, because aircraft performance is certainly affected by those warmer temperatures. Anatuvik Pass, VFR conditions, as well as Adigan Pass on Saturday. Further south and west, Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR conditions are anticipated. Could see some cumulus buildups with any upslope flow. And then as we get up toward the central Alaska Range, there could be isolated thunder pop up Saturday afternoon and evening, beginning around Rainy Pass, eastward through Windy Pass. Much of the time, though, VFR conditions there. Isabel, further east toward Mentasta, we expect that possibility of some scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms developing with the daytime heating afternoon, evening. And that'll be the trend again on Sunday. Further south and westward, Tanita Pass could also see a vicinity type isolated shower thunderstorm popping up with VFR conditions prevailing. Portage Pass will also see VFR conditions prevail for the day Saturday, and that'll be the case at Chilkoot and White in the northern end of the Panhandle. Generally VFR through the daytime there on Saturday, but by the time we get in the evening or Saturday night, some moisture lifting a little further northward from the southern part of the Panhandle could cause conditions to become MVFR by especially later Saturday evening and night. Freezing levels, well, we have that warm dome of air over the southern portion of the mainland in through the Panhandle, this ridge of high pressure, so we see freezing levels in excess of 8,000 feet across southern parts of the state. Coldest air is to the north up there along the Canadian Arctic coast, where freezing levels fall below 2,000 feet aloft, and then bump downward along the Aleutians as we go from the tip of the Alaska Peninsula, 6,000 down to 4,000 feet there and through the central Aleutians. There is a chance of a little icing there, south end of the Panhandle between 10,000 and a flight level of 18,000 feet Saturday. And then another area back out toward the eastern and central Aleutians between 6,000 and 14,000 feet. Upper level winds at jet stream level, 30,000 feet. Not much of any strong features to log onto, just a few weak high and low pressure circulations. Winds not all that impressive. 9,000 feet, 700 millibars. We do see winds upwards to 40 knots from the east-southeast out there over portions of the central Bering, and also just near the lower Gulf. More importantly, getting down to 3,000 feet by Saturday. We do see some winds there along the Panhandle, outer Gulf Coast, upwards to 35 knots from the south, and then an area of winds out over the central Bering extending off the southwest coast, lower Yukon, Kuskokwim deltas there west of Nunavik Island, 45 knot winds out of the east there in the central Bering. as well as 45 knot winds along the Arctic coast. Now, getting this down to the surface, turbulence surface to 6,000 feet will be possible there. Some areas of isolated moderate turbulence in parts of the Panhandle, and I'd also even throw in potentially along the Arctic coast, even though it's not indicated. Keep that in mind. If you are able to get out, have a safe flight this weekend.
So my heart is definitely racing. I don't know about anyone else's. This is the stuff nerds dream of.
10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6,
It's gonna
5,
happen.
4, 3, 2.
That countdown you just heard? We'll get back to that in a minute. Last episode, we saw the epic launch of ICESat-2, NASA's newest state-of-the-art ice-observing satellite. But now that that's in orbit, the pressure to deliver results is on.
Between launch and, the first ground returns, it took 17, 18 days or something like this. It's a time when you're quite nervous.
9 years ago, Dr. Torsten Marcus took over as the lead project scientist for ICESat-2 during a time when the mission needed a champion.
You start fighting for a mission over, for 9 years now.
So when ICESat-2 was turned on for the first time 18 days after it was launched, only then would the science team know if the whole thing had worked. And it did.
First of all, it's kind of emotional, right? Being here, ICESat-2 was developing for 9-10 years. Project scientist. You live the mission, right?
If it sounds like there's a lot of noise in the background, that's because Torsten is being interviewed from a plane 1,500 feet in the air. IceBridge was tasked with the job of bridging the data between the end of ICESat's mission and the beginning of ICESat-2, about a 9-year difference.
The goal is that it would run until ICESat-2 launched and then would have overlap with ICESat-2 as well, so we can get a really long, well-calibrated time series from IceBridge.
As the deputy project scientist for Operation IceBridge, Brick works closely with Torsten to make sure the two missions are syncing up.
The timing was everything during that mission, which was a real challenge because not only do we need to...
Basically what you need to take away is getting an airplane and a satellite in space to fly over the same flight path at the same time and collect matching data is really, really hard. IceBridge was tasked with two objectives. Check the accuracy of ICESat-2's data over land ice and over sea ice. They were able to lock in the land ice data fairly quickly in the mission, but the sea ice data...
It was really tricky. We waited day after day. Do we fly the sea ice? It's still on our list.
7, 6,
It's gonna
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark on the overpass 0435, 35 Zulu.
Here's what just happened. A plane 1,500 feet up and a satellite 308 miles up measured the same sea ice at the same time. This moment finally linked veteran mission Operation IceBridge's data to that of its new sister mission, ICESat-2. Two projects that, until now, were separate for nearly 10 years.
It's a very satisfying feeling because you do something that is meaningful and in the bigger picture. And yeah, it's very satisfying.
Our search for knowledge doesn't end here. Grace Follow-On and ICESat-2, the two satellite missions that launched this year, will continue to bring in incredible data for the foreseeable future. The steady drumbeat of campaigns in the field goes on, but most of all, the people who look for answers will never stop searching. And from our perspective, it's pretty clear why. What is your favorite planet in the solar system?
My favorite planet is the planet Earth.
What? Earth? Really?
The Earth, obviously.
Favorite planet in the solar system? Earth, right? We live on it. It's a really important one.
Favorite planet is Earth.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so when you look out at the other planets, they're absolutely fascinating. They've got all sorts of interesting systems going on. They've got dust storms. But then when you're on another planet, looking back at Earth, I mean, it's just incredible.
Whenever you go in different places, it looks so different, so amazing. It's just, I love planet Earth. It's just a very special planet. This is our home.
We've seen things far beyond the solar system. But even with all that, even the amazing things we've seen, one of the most amazing is the Earth itself.
It's got to be Earth. It's got to be Earth.
It's got to be here. I like the polar regions up here of Earth. Yeah, sorry. It's very boring.
Earth is good.
Earth is good.
We live here, it sustains our life.
I'm not going to turn my back on it.
It's got water, it's got ice, it's got vegetation. I mean, it's rich with life. And so studying Earth is a very, very rewarding career. And I think if we were on any other planet, we would be trying to get to Earth as quickly as we could.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back, and looking at the sea ice edge, we continue to have the melt-off there across the northern Bering surrounding St. Lawrence Island and just outside of Norton Sound there, northwest of Imanak. And as we go further north, the ice will continue to melt and break up there through the straits and lower Chukchi Sea. Look for increasing east-northeasterly winds along the Arctic and northwest coast this weekend, which will also help to shift and move some of the ice around a bit as well, so that could be a safety concern to keep in mind. Otherwise, across the Panhandle, we're expecting cloud cover and some light rain showers overspreading the Panhandle from south to north on Saturday. Winds will be picking up out of the north, 25 knots down the length of Lynn Canal, but southeasterly through the mid and southern sections, the inner channels. Outer coast and along the Gulf, we're looking for southeasterly winds of 20 to 25 knots, waves generally running around 6 feet. On Sunday, winds do come down across the inner channels, mainly out of the north at 10 knots, with waves a couple of feet. And then for the outer coast from Gustavus south through Craig, we're looking at winds over the open waters of the Gulf out of the north at 15 to 20 knots, waves about 5 feet. Still southeasterly though, Yakutat on up to as you head toward Cordova. And then across the northwestern Gulf, variable winds, open waters there, only 10 knots, waves a few feet. Northwest winds 10 knots, 2-foot waves in Prince William Sound. Cook Inlet will see generally north-northwest wind, mid and upper inlet there, 2-foot waves and variable winds at the entrance. On Sunday, winds are going to develop more of a northeasterly component across much of the region. Northerly 10 knots in Prince William Sound, northeasterly off the Kenai 20 to 25 knots. Southeasterly 20 knots at the entrance of Cook Inlet, but kind of a mixed bag, northeast 10 knots. Can arm down toward Kenai with waves only a couple of feet. And on Saturday, looking at Kodiak Island, southwest winds, southwest winds 15 knots, waves running a few feet. As we go down along the length of the Alaska Peninsula, winds will become variable at 10 knots either on the Bering or North Pacific side, with waves running just a couple of few feet. And for Sunday, look at northeasterly winds 15 knots through Shelikof Strait, northwesterly off of Kodiak and AKwx. But then as we go down the length of the peninsula, winds will be variable there north of Cold Bay at 10 knots, waves just 2 feet. Southwest winds there into Bristol Bay with waves running a couple of feet. Across the Aleutian chain, relatively light winds, either variable to easterly at 10 to 15 knots, waves generally running only 5 to 7 feet on the North Pacific side and 2 to 4 feet on the Bering side. And winds across much of the central eastern Aleutians on Sunday will be variable at 10 knots with waves just a couple feet on the Bering side and maybe 4 to 5 feet on the North Pacific side. For the southwest coast, including Norton Sound, winds will be north to northeast as high as 25 knots coming off of the YK deltas across the Nunavik Island towards St. Matthew. Waves as much as 3 to 5 feet there. Variable winds 10 knots around St. Paul, St. George, and northerly winds there, Norton Sound. Sunday, look for north to northwest winds around 20 knots along the length of the coast. Waves generally running 3 to 4 feet across much of the region. And then finally, up along the Arctic coast, we are going to see winds picking up out of the east at 25 to 30 knots and extending down there south of Utqiagvik down through Wainwright and off of Point Lay. And so that's going to cause any ice there to shift around a bit. Lower Chukchi through the Bering Strait, winds turn northerly 10 to 15 knots to the north side of St. Lawrence Island, with waves generally 2 to 3 feet. And on Sunday, a continuation of those easterly winds at 25 to 30 knots along the Arctic coast and the northwest coast off of Wainwright and Point Lay, and then turning northerly through the lower Chukchi Sea through the Bering Strait at 15 to 20 knots with waves 3 to 4 feet, especially up through the north side of St. Lawrence. And a quick check to the weather map Saturday. Areas of low cloudiness and fog out over the colder waters of the Arctic Ocean, the Beaufort Sea, lower Chukchi Sea, as well as the Bering and the Northern Gulf. Isolated thunderstorms along and south of the Alaska Range could lead to some dry lightning and fire starts. Same thing on Sunday. A few showers, isolated storms along and south of the Alaska Range. Otherwise, fairly weak weather features across much of the area. A couple of weak low pressures in the Gulf and North Pacific, and a weak cool front pushing into the west and northwest coast as we go through the day on Sunday. So have a good evening and join me again this weekend.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.